We will move on. We have no unfinished business. Legal counsel? Great.
I would
Yes.
have a question for Glenn, if you got just a minute, Glenn. Here in a little while, Glenn, we're going to be talking about letter of support, I guess, for the partnership of the college out here. Some time back, and I'm not sure what meeting or whatever that was that it was brought up, but there was some question about whether there was a legal mechanism for getting the issue in front of the voters to actually have a vote on it. Do you have, can you clarify that any, or has that been researched to?
Probably not a whole lot. There are current statutory provisions in place if a community college wants to merge with another community college. There's currently statutory provisions in place if you want to create a new community college or if you want to disband a community college. This is something different than that.
Right.
And what I've been told, basically through listening to some of these meetings, is that, you know, there's going to be legislation required to make this thing happen. And you got some other people who are actively involved in this. And I assume one of the things that'll have to be is some sort of enabling statute to allow a merger such as this, or a partnership, whatever the final arrangement ends up being. Certainly that could be a provision that, you know, that the community would have a right to vote because of the nature of the partnership, and I think that would have to be included in that enabling legislation.
Okay.
My review of it right now, really, it just isn't addressed, and I think that's part of what the plan is to get that legislation in place, and the Board of Regents goes through with the support of it.
Right. I had heard
Possibly
that.
someone else knows something more or something different than that, but that's been my understanding.
If there is anybody else, you're welcome to come up and talk about it.
But you hear a number of people who ask, you know, are we going to be able to vote? Are we going to be able, you know, before this transition or whatever occurs is going to happen? And I think right now there's just this, I don't think there's any plan to include that in the legislation. If there is, I'm not aware of it. But certainly there are people who have an interest in that.
Right. And I'm not sitting here implying that it needs to be done before we put our hand to a letter of support or whatever, but to me, the folks that own this college, the ones that are paying the bills there, and to have this kind of a partnership, what am I trying to say, proposed, and that the possibility of that, you know, going completely through and them never actually having a say themselves at the poll, I find disturbing. I don't think that's right. That having been said, I don't think that now is the time to do that yet anyway, but at some point along the way, I feel like they should have the opportunity to voice their opinion on it.
Well, and again, the people who are here to speak to the resolution probably can tell you more about timing and things, but the time is slipping away. It's slipping out of Ford County, and it's headed
To the state.
to another level. And so, you know, if that's something that you feel strongly about, it's probably time to address some of those issues, because I think the next step is to the Board of Regents and then probably on to the legislature.
And you don't see after going to the Board of Regents and getting that far and having some kind of a plan formulated that you can actually get some of this information to the public, that there being an opportunity for that?
I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously, if legislation's introduced, people are made aware that the legislation is being introduced and people have the opportunity. I assume there would be a hearing and, you know, the whole process that goes through the legislative process. But probably there's going to be proposed legislation in place, and let's take it to the legislature. And I don't have any idea whether that type of provision would be included or not.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Glenn, appreciate it.
Mr. Elam, we'll move on to the county administrator's report.
First item is resolution supporting the Kansas Board of Regents Academic Center. Mr. Rees and Joanne's here.
Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. We're here tonight to ask for your support in the form of a resolution to continue the progress in moving this forward. The next step in this is to show that the Kansas Board of Regents that there is community support to continue to investigate and put this plan together. That meeting is going to be on May 14th. So at this time, they've asked me to help gather up resolutions and letters of support from the businesses. To answer your question, we're not sure what all the process is going to be after that. At least I'm not. Morris might be able to add more information to that. But at this time, it's mainly to let them know that we want to continue to discuss this and to work together to try to put a proposal together.
As Vice Chair, I'm here to report that at our regular meeting last month, the Board of Trustees for the Community College approved the concepts of the white paper. Action was necessary for the process to move forward. Had we voted no, that would have been the end of the discussion. It would have been a good issue. And as indicated by Council, the next step really is with the Board of Regents, where they've already had preliminary discussions regarding this project, but they would have to get formal approval. And once the Board of Regents have approved, then the activity turns to the legislature. They, of course, the Board of Regents, of course, would have to submit a budget, and that would have to go through the budgetary process that they have to go through for all of the regents and universities. And so one of the reasons that we're asking the resolutions is that the Board of Regents, under no circumstances, wants to place the Regents Center in a community that doesn't want it.
Right.
There has to be a show of support from the community, and that's the reason that we're requesting these resolutions. And we appreciate you taking your time tonight. Thank you.
Any questions for Morris or Joanne?
I don't believe I have any. I just think I voiced the one that I had a little bit ago, but
Yep. Great.
You all understand that, the structure of the entity, the center here. I think you received a paper from Joanne's office that was pretty well described. Do you have any questions on any of the issues on that? I'll try to answer them.
I don't. I've been part of these meetings from the beginning, and I think this is a very exciting time for Ford County and the city of Dodge City and the community college and the expansion of our area. I think this is something that's very exciting and probably the most exciting thing that we're doing right now. I really don't have any questions on it. I mean, I think I understand this one. As a matter of fact, it seems like we get a lot of people asking us what our opinion is and how things are perceived and how things are moving forward. And I think that's kind of where Sean brings his question from, is from, us being asked a lot of information. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
thank you, Morris. Joanne?
So before us, we have a resolution supporting Kansas Board of Regents Academic Center. It would be Resolution 2014-10. And we've had a chance to read through this. Any discussion before we move on?
Just like to say that if our Board of Trustees do have the opportunity to have the oversight up there, have the ability to pull the plug if at any time it comes along and they see that something is not to their liking or should be to the liking of the people that are paying the bills. Generally, I support this if we can keep some kind of
It's in the plan.
control. Thank you, Morris, for being up here.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve Resolution 2014-10, which is a resolution supporting Kansas Board of Regents Academic Center.
I would second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do I need to read this before?
You haven't in the past. It doesn't-
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I will abstain, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Would anybody like me to read a resolution to the crowd? It's not as long as some of the others. There are some really good details in this, just so you know. Basically discussing an academic center as a regional baccalaureate center for Southwest Kansas. And inside here is a new $10 million technical institute with an annual commitment of $5 million from the state. So just to give you kind of an update on what that is. It does provide oversight with the Dodge City Community College and Fort Hays State University. So, okay.